In ancient Greece, seekers of wisdom traveled to the temple of Apollo to receive enlightenment from the gods. And on the entrance of the temple, 2 words were inscribed in stone, as they were said to be the treasure of all treasures. What are those 2 words? Know thyself. But not just for your personal self. This phrase, like many important principles, is a fractal. It is also the most important difference between a successful, growing business and one that flounders and perishes. Self-awareness is therefore the most important skill that you can possess because it informs every other skill. It tells you which skills to acquire and in what order. Self-awareness then is a decision-making framework that will guide you to make better choices. All this starts with asking yourself 4 questions that if you answer them honestly, they will cut the fat of your business and focus your attention and eliminate distractions so that you can do what you are meant to do. Question number 1, what do you really want? Newsflash, there is no right way to live your life. As long as you're not hurting anyone, you are free to do whatever you want. Shakespeare said, "To thine own self be true." But it's not just an option, it's a requirement. Because if you're incongruent with your own deep down goals and desires and personality and what your soul wants, you're inevitably going to be unhappy, probably lack energy, and be unproductive. If you live someone else's life, be it your parents or your friends or society's, you will regret it. If you take on your father's business because it's easier and you're expected to do it, but you secretly resent it, you will regret it. And it's a pansy move, to be honest. Don't be so weak as to give away your life because you're too afraid to stand up for yourself and your own desires and what you want. Don't be a sheep, even to your family. It's okay to do what you want. My family wants me to do this is not a good reason. But even more importantly, this applies to what you want from your own business. How big or small do you want your business to be? Whether you want to be a self-sustaining gardener who lives in the forest and never talks to anyone, or you want to build a multinational corporation and have thousands of employees working for you all over the world, or you want something in between. All these choices are legitimately fine as long as you find a choice that's aligned with who you are and what you want. So when you're starting a business, the first question that you have to ask yourself is, what do I want out of this business? And just to be clear, you have 3 major options. The first is to create a small business that you're going to be a part of on a day-to-day basis, like a restaurant or a cafe where you cook with your own hands, or if you're a mechanic or a plumber or a freelancer or an artist. In these cases, you are your own business, but you're still trading time for money. You're just self-employed in this case. And that's okay. If you're a craftsman and you enjoy the day-to-day weeds of what you do in your business, that's good. There's a second option. This is to create a lifestyle business. That's a company that doesn't necessarily have to be big, but you will have to hire people to run it for you. So you get a little bit more freedom and you can focus on your hobbies, or you can be a part of the community, or you can build a charity, or you become a sports fanatic on the side for your favorite team. And you can do that because you're the owner and you've hired the right executives to run it for you. The third option is to build an ever-scaling company. In this case, you're going for probably generational wealth, and you know that it's going to take decades, but you're ready for the journey. And you know, not only do you have to put in the time and the energy, but you also have to hire the right people. It's both. You have to be in the weeds of the business, and you have to build a scalable system and team so it can get even bigger. In this case, the financial rewards are much higher, but so is the responsibility, and it will probably, like I said, take literally decades and 80 hours a week. So you just have to know which one you want. So if you're starting a business, you need to make this decision. Ask yourself, am I starting a business because I want to do what I want to do, but I want to make my own schedule? Or do I want to build a business and then hire people so that they can run it for me so I can do something else that I love? Or do I want to build something really big and have a lot of employees and become rich or maybe even wealthy? And the answer matters, because each one has different approaches and how you're going to run the business. You must be honest with yourself about what you want, and more importantly, what you are willing to do to get there. Many people say, I want to be the CEO of a company with 1,000 employees, but often they're not really prepared to do the work. They don't understand that there will be no weekends. There are no calm mornings. There's no Friday nights. There's no respite. Not really. And if that's what you want, that's great. But you need to be aware not only of the desire to have all of that, but you need to be aware of it yesterday and start acting accordingly. The last thing you want to do is to wake up someday 30 years from now and feel like you've wasted your life on something that you didn't want in the first place. So don't procrastinate this anymore. Take the time today even to ask yourself this question and be honest about your answer. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just whatever you want. Do you want a small business, a lifestyle business, or do you want to move the needle? Be honest. And also be honest with whether or not you're going to do what it actually takes to build it. Question 2, what should I create and for whom? In Good to Great, Jim Collins created the hedgehog concept. It's a Venn diagram that you can use to decide what your company should do. There are 3 intertwining circles in this Venn diagram. The first one is your core competencies, meaning something that you have the potential to be great at. Not necessarily the best in the world, but really, really good. And you have evidence that says that you have the potential to be really, really good. Chris Guillebeau, the author of $100 Startup, says that if you're not sure if you have the potential to be great at something, ask yourself this question. What do people ask me to help them with? And people are always asking you to help them with writing or creating something or doing some graphics or editing something or building their funnel or fixing their electrical problems at their house or helping them engineer some new system or asking you for advice with their personal lives, or maybe everyone always looks to you for emotional support. Whatever it is, if someone is asking you for help, you're probably pretty good at that skill. But if no one is asking you to fix their car, you might not want to open up a mechanic shop. This is just not your thing, and that's okay. So that's step 1. Can you be good at this? Then 2, choose something you're passionate about, something you're excited about. Because even if you're good at something, you don't want to do something that you're going to dread. In school, for example, I was really, really good at math. I still am, but I hate it. Hence, I didn't start a math tutoring business nor a data analyst firm. So ask yourself, what do you like to do? What am I good at? But also, what am I not good at? All this takes great self-awareness. So that's the start. But after you find these answers and you're aware of your interests and your skills, you can extend this awareness from yourself to the macro awareness of the market and your place in society relative to our time. This will allow you to move to the 3rd circle in the Venn diagram, which is 3. What does the market need? Because here's the thing, your business must give value to the world today. So you can't just do something no one needs or no one wants and expect to make a living at it. For example, what if I decided to build a multinational corporation and I wanted thousands of employees? We will help people make the right choices for which VHS movie tapes to buy. Thinking like it's a good idea? I may be good at building these types of algorithms, and I may be great at logistics and shipping, and I may love movies. But can we sell VHS tapes that no one uses anymore? Even if I personally am incredibly good at the skills required and I'm fanatically passionate about VHS tapes and I love them and I love movies. It's like selling blankets in India in August during a heat wave or opening a meatball restaurant in the middle of a vegan yoga retreat. Even if you're good at it and you're passionate about it, if no one wants it, you're sunk. It sounds obvious, but you would not believe how many entrepreneurs are just absolutely unaware of the smallness of their market, or worse, unaware that there are other massive incumbents and competitors that are already solving the problem. Do not be so self-obsessed in your own head and your own bubble that you're not paying attention to the market at large. Before you start or attempt to scale, make sure that the world needs your product or your service right now, which summarizes to, in all cases, you need to be aware of what's happening outside of your own head. Just because you like something doesn't mean the world wants it. Artists make this mistake all the time, but that's for another lesson. The point is, if you take a good look inside of yourself and then outside in the real world, you will be able to define where you stand inside your unique Venn diagram and then answer this question: what should I create and for whom? Relative to your own goals, relative to your skills, relative to your interests, and relative to what the market needs. Which leads to question 3. What are my strengths and weaknesses? What happens after you decide what type of company you want to build, what you like to do, and what's good for the world? Self-awareness is a journey that doesn't end when you actually build your business or achieve one of your first goals. It's a lifelong process that you'll need in every step you take, and especially with every minor micro decision that you make along the path. After you define your goal, you need to be aware of your own unique zone of genius, your own strengths, and also your own weaknesses, and therefore the strengths and weaknesses of your business. What is holding you back? What's your blind spot? Be honest with yourself. For me, I would say that for my business, I'm still too involved in the client acquisition cycle. It's not scalable for me to talk to every single new client because there are only so many calls that I can do in the day. I haven't yet, at the time of filming this, built a system to replace myself at scale. So that, for example, is one of my current weaknesses. This is an anchor that I will have to fix. Whereas what should I be doing more of? Probably producing more content. This is the number one driver of our company's growth, our brand. So I need to double down on providing more free value to the world. Or another example, I'm a great systems engineer, but I like to hire out for the micro, tiny details. I can build the Excel table or the CRM, but checking the numbers every single day drives me insane. But we didn't hire a high-level lead accountant in the first year of our company. So the first year, our books looked a lot like most startups. Some basic QuickBooks and Excel accounting, and that was about it. Me and my business partner both have that weakness. Many founders do. They think big and have very little risk aversion, so they're willing to take big financial bets. Last year, we hired a CFO who is just an absolute monster at keeping everything perfect on track down to the penny. But if I didn't have the self-awareness to know that I was bad at that, we would have never hired to solve that problem. We would have hired someone else to solve a different problem. I don't need another me just yet. Right now, I need someone to do what I am unwilling to do and what I'm bad at. Does that make sense? But that's just me. Whatever it is for you and your business, you will need less of what's holding you back and more of what's in your zone of genius. Which, by the way, there's another level here. After being aware of your strengths and your weaknesses, the goal is to hire people that will either take your positives to an even higher level or eliminate your negatives. In my case, I should be training a sales team to do the calls with me as well as I can do them so that I can delegate and scale my current skill down the road. Eventually, I want to hire a sales lead that's even better than me, who will teach me what I was doing wrong all along the path, which is a third meta lesson here, especially if you're trying to scale your company. There is definitely someone out there who is better than you, just to be clear. Even if it takes 10 trials and 20 failures and you hire the wrong person over and over and over again, if you want to get to the next level, you must hire a person who is even better than you at your strength. If you can do that, you've probably really made it. Nonetheless, you need to be self-aware enough to know what to do next. Ask, what's holding my company back? Maybe you're getting a lot of complaints, so you need to hire a customer support team. Or maybe you're not getting enough leads, so you need to improve your top of funnel. So you need a copywriter to write SEO blog articles, or you need organic traffic. Or maybe you need to hire a LinkedIn BDR to schedule calls for you. Or similarly, what's working well for you? Why don't you just double it or triple it or 10x that action? Alex Hormozi says that the difference between generating 6 figures and 7 figures is doing the thing that got you to 6 figures 100 times more often. So if you're sending 1 LinkedIn connection request per day, then send 100. Do it over and over and over and over again. Stay consistent. To do that, you might need to hire a team or an agency or buy a software or an automation process, but whatever you need to do, it starts with self-awareness, both you as a leader and as a company. Okay, so at this point, if you've answered the first 3 questions, you should know what company you want to build, where you sit in the Venn diagram, and you also know your strengths and your weaknesses, so you know what to attack. But that leads us to question number 4, how to create a culture of self-awareness. The next level of self-awareness is weaving know thyself into the fabric of your company itself. Not just for you, but for everyone. It's one thing for you to know your strengths and your weaknesses, but how about everyone else? Step 1 is you need to be aware of your KPIs and your team's performance relative to those KPIs. Without clear benchmarks, there's nothing to define success in the first place. For example, is 1 qualified sales call per day good, or is it horrible? How about 10? Is posting once a day on social media a huge success, or would that be the worst day ever? Is replying to a customer within an hour good, or should it be 24 hours, or maybe 2 minutes? You make those calls. But once you make those calls, you have to build a culture where people are not only comfortable with being aware of where they stand relative to those KPIs, but they are excited about knowing, which is difficult because self-awareness requires confronting our faults, which is antithetical to people's nature, because our nature is to blend into the background and do what's necessary to not be noticed or not be fired. Most people do not want to stand out. Most people do not want to be put on a pedestal with all eyes on them. It is a rare employee who raises their hand and says, hey, I'm not good at this. How can I improve? Or, hey, I am really good at this. Can I do more of it and teach the team? If they're not good and they admit it, then they will become vulnerable, exposed. And if they think they're good, they worry, well, what if I'm wrong? Maybe I'm an imposter. Maybe I shouldn't be so confident. Everyone is watching. The stakes are high. In short, people have a tendency to hold back because either they're not self-aware or they don't want to be vulnerable in the workplace to begin with. It's easier to just do your job than risk speaking up or do something new. So what's the solution? You have to create a culture where self-awareness is not just encouraged, but rewarded, where it's good, even great, to not be good at something as long as you're trying to improve. This starts with you, by the way, as a leader, setting an example for everyone else. If you're okay with being vulnerable and you publicly admit that you're not that good at something, you're setting the standard for what's cool in the company. If you're vulnerable, everyone will be vulnerable because everyone will copy you, because people usually copy each other, especially their leaders. If the cool kids in high school say it's not okay to bully everyone else, there won't be much bullying in that school. If the boss shares his or her insecurities and faults publicly, then it will become normal to share your faults and your insecurities. That's how we survive. Follow the leader. Use the fact that most people are a little bit of sheep to your advantage. If you want your members to be comfortable standing out from the crowd, you must be the first to break down barriers and let everyone know that it's not only okay, it's even required to be vulnerable. Now, this doesn't mean you create a culture of half-assing or complaining, nor does it mean you lower your standards. But if your team is comfortable saying, I don't know, but this is important. If your team is not comfortable saying, I don't know, or they're uncomfortable saying, I'm not sure, but I'll figure it out, or I still need to learn that because they're afraid of being wrong, then you're probably going to lose. That's a bad culture sign. They have to be okay with failure. So in conclusion, if you don't know the answers to these 4 questions, it's time to do some serious soul searching. Take the time to really think about what you want from your business and what you can create that's both good for the world and aligned with your skills and your interests. Be honest about your strengths and your weaknesses so you can build a culture that values self-awareness and a team that's not afraid to be vulnerable and eliminate any obstacles that might be holding you back. Self-awareness at its core is knowledge. It's data, and all data is just for decision making. So use this knowledge of self to guide every decision that you make from this point forward. If you do, it should clarify your path. Rather than being reactive, you can become proactive. You'll say, this is the type of business that I want to create. You'll say, this is what the business will do. We'll help this type of person with this type of problem because the world needs it. I'm good at it and I'm passionate about it. And that's why the company exists. You'll say, these are my strengths that I need to amplify, and these are my weaknesses that I need to improve or hire for. Then you build a culture where everyone in the company does the same thing as you. Bam! Self-awareness now as your guide. I hope that helped. Thanks for listening. Until next time, cheers.